super fucking funny.
Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back, folks, to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but aren't afraid to shit all over both of them. I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
And we're doing a movie that we've wanted to do for quite a while. I'm going to do my best not to nerdgasm all over the place here. It's really tough to so you watch horror movies, and of course, it's just like anything else. You got your favorites, right? And then you're just kind of counting down the days until you get to the time to do like your favorite movie. I'm not going to say this is my absolute favorite movie. There's a couple contenders, but this one is definitely top 3 for me. Like, there's a lot of films that you can call perfect horror films. I think this is a perfect horror film. That's not going to stop me from pointing out some bullshit that happens in the movie, nor am I not going to rip on a few things in the movie, because there are some pretty funny things here, but they're intentionally funny, and I think that's good, but they're still hilarious. What movie are we doing today, Mike?
We're doing The Thing from 1982. I think this is kind of the movie that, made Kurt Russell big, because those are like the 2 big movies he was known for. Now Big in Japan and not Big in
Big in
Japan.
Japan, no!
Big Trouble, what was it called? Big Trouble in Little China.
China, yeah.
Yeah, that and The Thing, exactly. Big in Japan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so he did Escape from L.A. too, but let's face it, Kurt Russell's been in a shit ton of movies.
Yeah.
Not that much horror, though. This isn't the movie that made him famous, but this is one of them. Even though it didn't necessarily do well at the box office upon initial release. Initial release for this movie was poor. Can you guess why?
Because of the dogs?
No, it's even sillier. It came out the exact same time as E.T.
Okay.
Which is fitting as fuck. Because those are like 2 opposite sides of the spectrum of what an extraterrestrial could be, right? Like, you got E.T., the fun-loving, here, let me fix your finger, little cute alien guy, and then you got this monstrosity.
Yeah.
That is terror incarnate. So the world was obsessed with E.T. at this time. They came out at exactly the same time, so it did not do well at the box office. However, it did do really well with VHS and then later DVD sales, of course.
Yeah.
They really should have maybe talked to Steven Spielberg before they released this at the same time. Like, they could have waited. Because E.T. was like, that was the most popular movie in America for like
Quite some time,
5 years, right?
Yeah.
This movie makes excellent use of not having a whole lot of resources. So what they had was actually already there. Like, the place where the movie was filmed, the props that they used, like the tractor, the helicopter, all that stuff was already there. So they set up on an actual location. The money that they spent was promotion and then, of course, practical effects, because the practical effects in this movie are arguably, I'll go out on a limb, arguably the best practical effects I've ever seen in a horror film. Would you agree?
Well, for the time, yeah.
Practical effects wise, for the time? Yeah, man. Practical effects nowadays don't look this good.
Yeah,
You think they do?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's the scene where that one guy, where they burn the one thing and his head falls off. That I really, it looks good, but you can see too much to me. You can see too much that it's plastic.
Are you talking about the defibrillator scene? You're talking about
What?
the defibrillator scene, the scene where the doctor loses his arm.
Yeah, and now when his teeth comes out, because they burned the monster thing that comes out, and when he's almost dead, like his head splits off. No. And that specific thing there, I'm thinking like, yeah, it looks good, but for me, you can clearly see that they just used some tubes or whatever, in my opinion. No, but I might be nitpicking.
That look great, but okay. I mean, to each their own. I don't think there's better practical effects than any other horror movie I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean, Alien's a close contender, but I mean, practical effects wise, there wasn't a whole lot that happened in that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the other movie that's running neck and neck with this one for me in terms of like perfect films. The Exorcist is close to this film for me in terms of being a perfect film. The interesting thing about this movie, though, and a lot of people didn't know this, including myself up until like a few years ago. So this movie is actually a remake. from a movie that was made back in 1951. And the movie was called The Thing from Another World. It's directed by Christian Nyby and Howard Hawks and was loosely based on the 1938 novel Who Goes There? Right? So this is a remake of a movie that was made from a novel. Unlike this version that we're seeing right now, 1951 film portrayed the alien as more of like a humanoid creature. So this creature is not humanoid. It's humanoid when it wants to be humanoid, which is cool.
Yeah.
But that movie, it was purely a humanoid alien, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the theme was more, it was during the time of the Cold War, so the theme was more like Cold
Yeah.
War oriented.
Mhm.
This film does nothing like that. This is probably extremely loosely based on The Thing from Another World. The interesting thing, though, is if you go back and you look at the script they used for the title of the movie, it's almost exactly like The Thing from Another World. Like they didn't change the word "the thing," how it was written. It's written and looks exactly the same way, except underneath it, it says "from another world." So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
interesting that they did that. It's kind of like they wanted to lend credence to the original that they were doing a remake of.
Yeah, the German title is just the German title is actually literally the same when it
Yeah,
was
Das
released.
Ding. Das Ding. Which
Yeah.
is
Nee, das Ding aus dem Weltall. No?
really
Yeah, because
okay.
the thing from another world, no, the German title
Okay.
was Das Ding aus dem
Okay.
Weltall, and that's how it was released at the
Okay.
time. It was just released under the same title.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I did not know that. Okay, so they actually used the complete original title from the 1951 film for Germany. Okay.
Exactly.
This has a hell of a cast. So I mean,
Yeah.
this movie obviously did not do too poorly because pretty much every actor in this film went on to do something else with the exception of two or three, right? You got that list of everybody that's in this film?
Yep, I got the list. I got the list. Yeah, of course. Well, the most obvious one, Kurt Russell. I mean, everybody probably at this point knows he's in the movie playing R.J. McCready. Then Keith David. That's also I do not know how much and how I do not know in how much movies I've seen this guy.
Tons.
He plays a child. Then Wilford Brimley that plays Dr. Blair. David Clennon that plays Palmer. Richard Masur that plays Clark. T.K. Carter plays Knowles. Donald Moffat plays Gary. And Bill Lanchester is all this is. I have no idea who he plays, but apparently he's in the movie. I think he's probably one of the guys that comes from the maybe he plays one of the Norwegian guys. I don't know.
Possible.
No? Possible. Oh, and of course, what we didn't mention, no, it was made by John Carpenter. That's a John Carpenter movie. No, is what we didn't mention. No, and
Mr. Halloween himself. Yep.
apparently, fun fact, there was a sequel to it. Matt, no,
Sequel to what?
a sequel to The Thing called Prince of Darkness. At least that's what it says here. No, yeah.
No. Seriously?
Well, if you go, well,
I
I
know
mean,
there was a
no,
prequel.
what? Huh?
I know there was a prequel.
Here says
But a sequel?
Not called. No, this is the prequel. Yeah, of course, that was the one that came out in 2011. No, I actually at the time just thought it was a remake. But here, wait. Okay. Apparently, okay, it's made by John Carpenter at least. No, why cleans in the basement? Well, no, I don't think this has any. For some reason, no. I can see on multiple things that it's listed as a sequel called Prince of Darkness, but apparently it has nothing to do with it. I do not know why why
Okay.
it's listed as a sequel.
Well,
That's
I'm gonna have to look
well,
into that after this just to see because if it's a Ron Carpenter film, I haven't seen it.
yeah. I also have to look at it because I just I have this in my list and I think okay, this is pretty interesting, but I really can't tell why this is listed as a sequel to The Thing. That would be interesting to
We're
figure
gonna
out.
have to dig into it. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
dig into it and mention it next time. The prequel, I don't know if you ever saw it. Do you ever see the prequel?
Yes. Yes, I saw it. Yeah. Yeah. But at the time at the time I didn't understand why it was a prequel because I just thought it was a remake.
No, it was a
Yeah.
prequel, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely fucking terrible. It's one of those things where this is like one of the things we'll probably end up talking about a lot about movies. It's kind of like what's happening with Alien right now, the Alien storyline, right? So they went back and did prequels for it. I don't care for the prequels. It's like you go to the trouble of explaining everything ad nauseum to the audience as if they need an explanation for everything, and it ruins the wonder of the first and second film. Like, the cool thing about Alien is that you don't know what the creature is. You don't know why it's there. You don't know where it comes from. You have a very vague idea of what the creature is. And then they go back and explain everything, which takes all the mystery out of it. They did the exact
Yeah,
same thing with the Thing prequel,
I don't know. I
and
think
it was fucking dreadfully bad.
exactly. I mean, I agree with you on aliens. I never really liked the kind of thing that came up like, oh, the xenomorphs are a genetic experiment. It was like, why did they have to put this in? I just thought it was some kind of alien species that came from somewhere,
Yeah.
even in the comics.
Yeah.
Or a lot of books they written, it was just some alien species that came from somewhere. There was even some home planets that xenomorphs came from. I don't know, whatever. Where there was a one comic line where there were red xenomorphs and they were fighting the normal
Yeah,
black
there was
ones or
red ones
whatever.
and all Dark Horse's line of comics,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
all
and
those have been decanonized, which is a shame because that story was honestly much better than what we got from Ridley Scott's Prometheus and Alien Covenant.
it's dumb. Yeah, how should I say
Yeah.
it? I don't know. It kind of would have been interesting if the engineers kind of first came in contact with these things or whatever. I don't know. The entire thing with the black goo and aliens being genetic experiment or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's stupid. It's
It's
just
just completely unnecessary, and
yeah.
and I feel like I'm gonna get some hate for this, and I'm prepared for it. I don't really care. I feel like it's Ridley Scott's thing, Alien, right? He came up with it. He's the one who did this whole thing. It's his baby, so he went back and did a prequel to it. And I think because he's the original creator, he got a free pass to do this. But nobody asked for that shit, and the films are dreadful. They're not good.
Well, I mean, it depends on how far. It depends how far you go back. He was the one that picked up the script and turned it into a movie, but he's not the one that wrote the story.
Right, right, right. But his name is attached to all of it.
I
All of
mean,
it.
it's just like yeah. I mean, of course, the movie became what it was because of his vision. But
Mhm.
when it's like, yeah, he created aliens, it's like, no, not actually. I mean, he basically just took the story and turned it into a movie. Even the script was already written. No, before Ridley Scott even. But so, of course, I don't want to downplay Ridley Scott's role because clearly, it was his vision, how he saw the movie that literally led to how the
Yeah,
movie was made. The
right.
entire way how we see how the design of the xenomorphs, that's fully Ridley Scott, because he wanted to give it the kind of biomechanical touch. And he had this one artist he knew that I can't entirely remember his
Jar
name.
Giger, one of the best
Yeah,
artists in
yeah,
the
yeah,
entire world.
yeah. Okay, but now we're going off rails, Matt, because
I know, but I figure people are used to us by now, so we could probably
yeah,
do a little bit of that. So the reason I brought up the Alien thing is if you have a movie like The Thing and you have a movie like Alien, these are timeless classics that people love. So it is nothing but a cash grab to go back and try to do a prequel to these things and to do this film justice because basically you're just removing any kind of mystery from the story whatsoever. And that
yeah.
bothers me. That's exactly what they did with the prequel to The Thing. I just act like
Yeah,
it doesn't fucking exist.
yeah. That's in a lot of ways, it's in my opinion, for one, from modern storytelling, that everything has to be explained. No, okay, I'm this lore guy. I'm a lore guy. I like when I have a super lot of lore that I could
You
look
know, Mike.
into
You
and
know.
read into or whatever. Nah, but even though it's just like there are certain things, in my opinion, that don't really have to be explained. Just like xenomorphs. I mean, I don't have to know how they were created. I don't really care if I want to know shit like that. I'm just going to read a biology book from the real world. I mean, so. And of course, it's just for modern storytelling, they want to explain everything. They want to give everything more nuance. They want to give it more context or whatever. And a lot of modern writers, they want to put their own touch to it. They want to, do their version of it. What in itself is fair, no? But they totally lose sight that they're just totally fundamentally changing everything these stories are. And the point is, that leads to these stories only being a product of their time and not being timeless classics.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
majority of stories, this is not only movies, the majority of stories that people remember till nowadays are all stories that were written like 200 years ago, or 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago. I mean, there are multiple stories that are written in the 80s or the 90s that people still remember, but everything that came out of the new millennia after 2000, modern storytelling, how many modern stories that were written after 2000 do you remember? How many? I mean, that was something that would interest me also to the viewers. Just think about it for a second and then ask yourself why every time, and this is something specifically that's got bad over the last 15 years, over multiple movies. 3 months after the movie is out, nobody knows what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No?
You're right, but I think that kind of goes into what we were talking about on the last episode with Alien 3. It's like studios, this could be related to anything. This could be related to bands and music. This could be anything entertainment. Everything is about the money. It's what sells tickets. It's what people want to see. It's how much money it's going to make at the box office. If there's a sacred IP, Star Wars is a great example. If there's a sacred IP, you can bet somebody's willing to cash in on it. And as somebody who loves the idea of making something original and enjoying that IP for what it is, there is somebody willing to cash in and completely fucking ruin it. And so you, as the viewer and someone who cares about this material, has to look at this and say, okay, do I need that? Unfortunately, for most of us, including myself, if you do something new with an IP that I love, I'm going to go see it, whether I think I'm going to hate it or not. Probably going to hate it unless you've done something original with the IP or not added to it or broken lore like has happened with Aliens and Star Wars and God knows anything else out there. It's just a shame that movies like The Thing, which is a damn near perfect horror film, has a prequel now that explains everything away that you saw in this movie, kind of just putting a huge damper on it. I don't know. Yeah, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, but it's irritating from me to you, anybody listening to this. If you haven't seen the prequel to The Thing, don't waste your time. Don't waste your fucking time. Please don't, because this movie was perfect as it was, and there's things that happen in that film that just completely shit all over.
But that, honestly, I'm definitely going to put it on our list just to piss you off.
Fuck you, I'm not doing it. You're doing that episode by yourself. All right, Mike. Okay. If you want to do
Huh?
the
Huh?
prequel to The Thing, I will do it with you, but
I
I am
mean,
going to shit all over that film. I'm going to shit all over it,
Matt,
Mike.
I mean, the point is, when was the last time we really shit on a movie? I mean, the last time was the Hellraiser episode, and that's also been quite some time. No, we've been like
Yeah.
only saying good things about the last few movies we've done the episodes.
That's
Yeah,
true.
so I mean, maybe one's gonna come up where we're gonna have we're gonna shit talk for 2 hours straight. I mean, more than we usually do, of course.
There are some on our list that are upcoming that I already know we're going to have a field day with, but we have not ripped a movie's ass quite like we did Werewolves, and that was the first episode.
Yes.
That
I mean,
movie got obliterated.
yeah,
Obliterated. There's
it was,
nothing left of that film.
I mean, it was Werewolves, Alien Romulus, and Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Those movies were pretty bad. But I mean, guys, before we get into the movie, if you like our content or our podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to always immediately get a notification when we upload a new video. And don't forget to leave a comment if there's anything you'd like to tell us or any movies you'd like for us to do in further episodes.
Yep. I almost broke my cardinal rule. I was about to say, to piggyback off of that, which is a military thing that people say, and I fucking hate it when they do that shit. So I'm not going to do that. But just to kind of add to what Mike just said, we've had a couple people giving us comments that are really helpful, and I love that shit. So people have said, hey, this content is great. I love talking about horror movies. I love listening to people talk about horror movies. Have you tried this and have you tried this to try to get the podcast out more? That's brilliant. Guys, if you have a way that we can get this out to more people who are more like us, who love heavy metal and horror, please just tell us. We'll try it. We'll try it. Yeah. So I guess we'll get into the movie, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Since we're already like, I don't even know how far we are in. We're 24 minutes in and we barely talked about this fucking film.
Yes, exactly. We've talked about everything but the movie this episode is about. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about the cast and the crew and everything. I did want to, before we start really getting into the movie, I did want to throw out a random fact that you're going to find pretty interesting. So Brimley, he's in this movie. Everybody knows who Brimley is. He's dead now. The actor's dead. Had diabetes. That was kind of the joke when he was alive. He did diabetes commercial. But he looks old as fuck in this movie, right, Mike?
Yeah, he looks
Take a
old
look
as
at this
fuck,
guy's
yeah.
face, man.
He does, yeah.
Okay,
Huh?
he's 42 in this film. The actor
You're
is
fucking
42. Look it
you're
up.
fucking kidding me?
Ed Grimley has looked like that since he was fucking 20. Ed Grimley is an old-looking fucker, man. Holy crap. Mm.
40? Oh, you gotta be fucking
Yeah, he
kidding me.
was extremely young when he did this film, and he looks like he's in his 60s. That's got to be a bad case of genetics,
Holy
dude. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, because I can't remember a movie where he did not look old, and he's been an actor for quite a while.
Yeah, but it's just I just think it's actually fucking crazy. That's something because I mean I'm a year older. No, I'm the same age this guy was when he done this movie. You know, and it's like I mean, I'm going to be honest. I also thought when I was a kid that I was going to look way older when I was like when I'm my age now, but
Yeah.
apparently I don't. But it's also my God, 42 fucking shit.
People in the 80s had different genetics, bro. Like, that's the only thing I can think of, because I think back about 80s movies, and then I look at how old the actors were at that time, and they looked 10 to 15 years older than they actually were. And I have no idea why. I don't know if it's because we're eating better or we're taking better care of ourselves or what, but that dude was 42 when this movie came out, and he
No,
looks 65.
I think it's a multiple. It's a combination of the thing. People that have actually compared that, on the internet, compared like actors nowadays, their age, how they look, and how specifically 80, 90s, actors look. It's totally fucking crazy because the most actors now
Yeah.
that are in their 30s, mid 30s, look like some of them even like they're 15 to 18 years old, no? And back in the days when a lot of actors in the 80s or 90s were that same fucking age, they looked like they were already in their 40s. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. It was a random factoid that I picked up from another horror podcast that I love, and they went on about Ed Grimley in this film for like 20 minutes because the dude was only 42 and he looks like he's 70. So yeah, just interesting factoid, right? So this movie
Yeah, yeah.
this movie opens up with a really wide shot of the Antarctic landscape, right? And you have to think about the time when they did this. This was all shot from a chopper. Beautiful shot. Once you kind of get this view of this icy plateau and snow blowing, you then zoom out to space above the Earth, and you get kind of a close up of a flying saucer shaped UFO that descends towards the Earth. It's not, smoking. It doesn't look damaged or anything like that, but it does look very much like kind of the idea of the 50s flying saucer that everybody was talking about at that time, what it looked like. It's got lights all the way around it, and it's obviously crashing towards Earth. So right after that, you don't get to see the thing land, but you see that it gets close to the Earth, so it's obviously going to land on the Earth, and then you get the title card. The title card's interesting because it doesn't just say the thing, it says John Carpenter's The Thing. So the guy wanted to kind of set himself apart from the movie that this is remaking, right? To kind of say, hey, this is mine. This is my take on that original story. I kind of dig that. There's a few movies that have done that, but not many. You kind of have to have somebody that's a little bit full of themselves, like John Carpenter, to put his name in the title card. Yeah, yeah, yeah. His. I mean, yeah. John Carpenter puts his name in everything. I don't think the Halloween title card had John Carpenter in it, which actually amazes me because that's the movie he's really known for making, is Halloween. But whatever. Then we get kind of quickly the interior of a Norwegian helicopter cockpit because these two Norwegians have hopped inside their chopper. One of them looks like he hasn't had too much sleep. The other guy is carrying a weapon, and he looks like he's ready to fucking kill something. And a dog takes off. So this Alaskan Malamute dog, which these dogs are known for pulling sleds in Norway and in Alaska, it's a sled dog, and it's taking off from this compound that this helicopter is taking off from. You see a little bit of smoke coming from the compound too, so there's kind of a hint that something there didn't quite go correctly. The helicopter's flying really low to the snow as the dog's running, and this dog is hauling ass, dude. Which I would be too if I had some dude in a fucking helicopter shooting at me. So these guys really fucking want to kill this dog. And this is one of those things that if you don't know anything about the movie and you went into this blind, you'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with
Exactly. Yeah,
this
because
guy?
I mean, because actually that's kind of thing because I did not remember how the thing got into the complex. None of the other guys, and I did not remember that. So at this moment, I was like, why the fuck are they trying to kill the dog? Because I did not remember that specific detail. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
when I watched this. Yesterday.
It's a pretty fucked up thing. Like starting a movie out with this. These guys are assholes, and they're Norwegian. So if you were to shut off the movie,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of Norwegian friends, but if you were to shut off the movie at this part because you don't agree with killing animals, you'd probably hate Norwegians the rest of your life. They keep missing the dog. So the dog darts toward U.S. Outpost 31 in the distance. And we know that that's the name of the place because there's a sign out front that we get a picture of.
Yeah.
The idea that you're starting to get is that these are outposts for scientists. These are outposts for people who are studying the environment of Antarctica, probably looking for resources, probably. That was a big boom in the 80s, so this is actually true to the times. So you see Outpost 31, McCready, who's played by Kurt Russell, and Childs, who's played by Keith Davis. Keith David
Yeah.
noticed the incoming dog. So they're seeing this dog run directly towards their compound, followed by this fucking Norwegian helicopter. One of the pilot leans out to take a shot, fails, and then lands the chopper. The second Norwegian pilot fires at the dog. When he gets out, the guy that gets out with a gun pulls a grenade because he wants to throw the grenade at the dog at the last ditch effort to try to blow this fucker up before it gets into the compound, drops the grenade into the snow, and then like forgets about it and runs forward to shoot the dog. The guy who's in the chopper gets out of the chopper to try to find the grenade that's dropped into the snow and immediately gets blown up. So he gets blown up and the chopper gets blown up together. So the chopper's wrecked, the guy's dead. The other Norwegian that jumped out of the chopper is running towards the compound where the dog is, right? So this is the part where he fires and grazes Benning's leg, right? So Bennings goes down, and Bennings is the radio man, by the way. Captain Gary, which is played by Donald Moffat. This is the youngest I've seen this guy
Yeah.
in any film. Like he's
Yeah. Yeah.
seriously younger. Like I don't know, probably like in his mid 30s or whatever. Still has the crazy bushy eyebrows going on though.
Yeah. That's extreme. Yeah.
Yeah. So Captain Gary is inside the building, right? And he's watching all this happen from outside the window. And he notices that these guys are trying to kill the dog and they've actually shot one of his guys in the leg. So he takes a revolver that he's had in his drawer. And I kind of get the feeling like this guy has been dying for a chance to use this fucking revolver because he's like, oh,
Yeah.
like this is the guy that has been there. He's probably got a little bit of military experience, but he's got a super itchy trigger finger. So every time somebody sees a bug or a
Yeah.
cockroach or something that doesn't look right, he's like, oh, wait, let me go get my revolver, So he gets his revolver out. He's super happy about it. He fires and kills the one Norwegian, but not before we hear the Norwegian say something to the group. So he gets out with his rifle, points it at the dog, and screams something in Norwegian that nobody understands. And Captain Moffat shoots him, and he's dead. The thing that we don't know, if you don't speak Norwegian, I actually had to ask, but he says, that's not a dog. That's not a dog. Get away from it. That's what he says in Norwegian, but we don't know that because we're all Americans and we only speak one language. Okay, so they kill the one guy who got out of the chopper. Childs tries to coax the bloody dog forward, like into the building because he wants to get the dog to safety because the dog's been running. He's like, get the dog inside. This is where we kind of get a look at the inside of the outpost and we kind of see what everybody's doing, right?
Yeah.
The dog is, at this time, the dog is inside and it's kind of wandering around. And you get the feeling like they just let this dog wander around. Like
Yeah,
they're not
that's
really.
that's the most dumbest thing possible because I mean, first you have like simply how this dog came in, no, and you have like okay, I mean, this guy was being followed by two guys trying to kill this fucking dog, so there has to be some reason. And for me, how should I say it? I just don't think like there should be these are like not like just normal dudes. They are people that have some kind of training or whatever. So that's the dumbest thing they could have done to begin with, to just let this dog in, let him run around through the entire complex and not question anything. Because you have no reason, no idea why this dog was being chased to begin with. There were people chasing this fucking dog with a helicopter trying to kill it. No?
Mhm.
So, I mean, my thought would have maybe it has some fucking disease. I don't know.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
That could have been something that you would have thought. I thought about myself in this situation, and I would have thought so. There's a history of people that are set up in outposts in Alaska,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
go crazy. This is something that I've been hearing about since I was a kid. Probably my dad was in the military. He was stationed in Alaska, so I got to hear a lot about this. But guys that get stuck up there, there's months that go by where it's complete darkness. We also see this in 40 Days of Night, which is another movie that's probably
yeah, 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 yeah,
because it's a vampire and we know how horny you are for vampires. But
yeah, yeah.
so these guys tend to go a little crazy and lose their mind. And so I would have thought these guys probably had been up here for a while and had lost their mind because the dog seemed healthy and he seemed friendly.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
myself, call me naive, I wouldn't have thought anything was wrong with the dog. I would have thought something was wrong with the humans,
probably, yeah, yeah.
you know? So the dog's walking around this place on its own. We kind of get to take a look at what's going on inside. We get a look at the main hut. The crew are playing cards, smoking weed. McCready. So Kurt Russell's character in this movie is one of my absolute favorite characters in any horror film because the guy, he's a little bit like you, Mike. Yeah, he's a little bit like you. He's done with it. Like he's done with socializing. He's pretty much done with the stupid things people say. He likes to keep to himself. He's a helicopter pilot and he has his own hut. He stays in his own place. He's like, I don't know what those fucking scientists are doing over there, but I'm sick of their fucking mouths. So I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna play video games, right? So
Yeah, okay, yeah.
he's sitting in his hut and he's playing video games. Now, you got to think about the time frame. This is the 80s, right? So everybody had like really cheap, shitty computers that for the time, for them, it was great. For us, it'd be like, I'm not going to play this. You know what I mean? But he's playing chess against a computer. This is probably his only form of entertainment that he has, really. He's sitting there drinking whiskey and he's playing with the computer and he starts to think that he's got the computer. He's like, I got you. I got you. I made a move. He's playing chess. He's like, I made a move and I got you. You're really having to think about this, aren't you? No, it's not having to think about it. It's a fucking computer. It's going to beat you every time, dude. So what does the thing
No,
do?
not really. No.
Well, no, not really. But for the most part, even then, computers were better at calculation than humans were. So you probably would have lost to this program quite a few times. But he thinks he's got it, and all of a sudden it takes his fucking king and says checkmate. And he's like, fuck you. And he opens the fucking computer with his whiskey and pours the whiskey inside, shorting the fucking computer out and killing it. So
No,
the first victim of this film was a poor computer program. It wasn't a human being.
yeah, the funny thing is, when he said he pours his whiskey in his go, cheating, bitch.
I fucking love it, dude. Look, this scene right here is probably like one of the only laughs you're gonna get out of this film, but it's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah,
That is his only form of
yeah.
entertainment, and I'm sure he's not the only person that plays it, because if that's the only computer that they've got, you know the other guys are taking turns playing chess every once in a while. So he just fucking destroyed this computer for everybody. So we've already talked about all the characters' names: McCready, Childs, Palmer, Blair, Windows. What the fucking kind of name is Windows? Windows, Copper, Clark, Knowles, Norris,
I don't
and
know.
Fuchs. Bennings is the guy that got shot in the leg by the Norwegian guy. He's demanding medical aid, so Clark patches him up. He's
Yeah.
sitting there. He's sitting there putting in stitches, and this guy's bitching and complaining the whole time. And he's like, "Oh, it's only 3 stitches. He barely graved you. Quit being such a bitch.
It's only 30 stitches.
It's only 30 stitches." So then after that, we kind of get a look at the kennel, which is where they keep the dogs. They lock the dog.
Yeah.
They lock the dogs up in a pen. And he says, well, the dog looks pretty friendly. Let's go ahead and put him in there. I don't think he's going to be a big deal. So they put the dog in with the other dogs. This dog does not act like a dog. If you have dogs, and this is something that I felt should have maybe been caught by Knowles. Knowles is the guy who watches the dogs. This dog walks in, doesn't look at the other dogs, doesn't sniff around, doesn't do anything like that. He's staring directly at a wall for way too fucking long, and then kind of plants himself in the middle of the room. Not normal dog behavior. Knowles probably should have caught that, and like what you were saying earlier, would have thought maybe this dog is sick. It might have been a good idea not to put him in there, right? So there's casual chatter about what happened with the Norwegian chopper, what these guys, were they on drugs? Were they Were they held up for too long and went stir crazy? Why did this happen? Of course, this is probably the most excitement they've had in, in fucking months. So everybody's
Yeah.
talking about it. McCready pours himself another whiskey, strikes a match on a table. I don't know if you caught this, but the striking the match on the table where the table's pretty much frozen is kind of like the whole motif of fire versus ice, which is kind of what we're going to get to see throughout this film. It's a nice little bit of foreshadowing. You can also notice in the room and around the premises, there's prop placement that's pretty interesting. So there's gas lanterns, there's flamethrowers everywhere, lots of foreshadowing about what's to come. McCready and Copper decide that we can sit here and talk all day about what was wrong with these Norwegians and why this happened. But if we look at where their outpost is, it's about an hour away if we fly. So we might as well fly over there and let them know what's happened and at least maybe see what happened over there.
Yeah.
So McCready and Copper decide to get in the chopper and they fly over a whole bunch of crevices in the ice to get back to this place. So we hear radio chatter from them talking back, and they're saying, hey, their base looks fine. It looks intact. It doesn't look like anything happened from the outside. So obviously the smoke has gone down now. So they don't see anything wrong. But they get out of the chopper and trudge to the snow and they enter the main tent of this Norwegian base. Inside there are this is a fucking massacre. This is why I said
Yeah.
we need to we need to name the thumbnail A Cold Day in Hell, because when they walk in here, it's charred bones, charred remains, blood everywhere. There's like frozen blubber like goo laying around, which
Yeah.
is not normal. It's obviously not something that looks real human.
No, yeah, and this is like the first thing where it's just like, yeah, this is where at least the two guys that are there are kind of acting a little bit dumb, because if you go in there seeing what happens, you see blood everywhere. You see puddles of goo shit that doesn't look normal. No, it does kind of look like something contagious is going on. Right outside of the building, you have multiple bodies that were burned. And it's like, there's only one reason why people would start burning bodies, man.
Right. Yeah.
You
Yeah, you're
know?
right.
And at that
I
point,
mean, I
it's
thought
like,
the same
it
thing.
doesn't
I
take a
thought
genius. I mean,
maybe it was a little
it,
naive.
it doesn't take it. I mean, it's a little bit naive there, but because it doesn't take a fucking genius to know, no, something's wrong. And the first thing, okay, the dog came from this compound. Maybe we should get rid of that fucking dog.
Well, and that's the other thing I noticed too when I was watching it. I never caught it any other time but this time. So they never radioed back. They had the ability to radio back as quickly as they could, and they didn't do it. But the first thing I would have done would have been to radio back and say, hey, get the dog out of there. Something's wrong with the dog. We have multiple bodies that are burned here. It looks like there may have been some type of sickness or something like that. The dog doesn't need to be there. But they don't do that. Instead, they go through the inside of the tents and everything, and Copper is on the ground picking up paperwork to try to save it because he thinks maybe they wrote something down. It's all in Norwegian, so he can't read it. Kurt Russell's character is like, well, what are you doing, Doc? Like, what does it say? He says, I don't know because it's all in Norwegian, but I'm going to save it because I want to read it when we get back. And so they do that. He walks into the next room and there's a figure that is sitting in a chair. And the only thing that you see is the back of him, and he's frozen solid, but he's sitting in a chair. And the only thing that they can see from behind is that both of his arms are kind of laying on the side of the chair. And there's frozen blood. This is awesome, by the way. There's frozen blood that's coming out of his arms that's frozen to the ground. So the guy obviously slit his wrists, right? They walk around the front of the body and they realize that not only are his wrists cut, but he's also cut his throat. And it's not like a little cut, like it's a deep cut. Like this guy wanted to die fast. And so that's what you get. This would have been the point that I would have hauled ass to the chopper and radioed and said, get the fucking dog out of there now. So they walk back outside, kind of a little bit too casually for me. They walk back outside and they find this weird melted corpse that has a face that's been split in two and is kind of warped.
Yeah.
Right? Does not it looks a little bit human, but for the most part, the body parts are not where they would be on a normal human. It is like a melted human, but there's no way that would be possible.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Also lying around it were other bodies that seem to be burned or whatever, and you see this goo shit. I mean, it's just like this is so like the last thing you would do would take that fucking thing to your complex. I mean, okay. I mean, after a certain, I mean, okay, but you can bring it back to the point in a lot of movies, horror movies specifically, somebody has to be a fucking idiot for the story to happen, So,
yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm at this point,
You're
literally.
absolutely right. I
Yeah,
mean, so like I said, I think it's a perfect horror movie, but there are some things here that don't make any sense, and this is one of them. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
they have no sense of purpose or any sense of urgency. They see this thing on the ground that is obviously not fucking human. Sorry, it's not. It does not resemble a human. It has some human traits. It may be dead, but it's not fucking human. And so they decide, hey, let's just pick this thing up and take it back to our compound. Okay.
I
These
mean,
guys are
perfect.
scientists at a
Even if
research
you don't
facility.
know
Well,
what it has,
okay,
I
so
mean,
copper might be.
yeah, that's it. That's the
Wouldn't have
thing.
fucking
They're
done it.
scientists at a research. They're scientists at a research facility. No matter whatever the fuck this thing is, it could have I don't know what kind of diseases on it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's all sorts of red flags here that these guys just completely fucking ignore.
Yeah.
In one of the Norwegian journals, they find something that does say in English, digging deep and life drawn out is the only thing that they can make out, right? And so that should have also been kind of a
No,
hint.
but
They completely ignore that too.
it doesn't end there, Matt. It doesn't end there. No,
Yeah.
because you probably know what's coming up now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So so
yeah.
before they do get back in the chopper to fly, but not before they go into another room here where they see this giant bed of ice that's obviously been dug out of the ice and put there on the floor. And there's a giant hole in it where something came out of it, right?
Yeah, but no, but also you could clearly
You
see
wouldn't
in
have had
that
to see
hole.
too many
Well,
sci-fi movies to know what the fuck this is.
exactly. And this is like, I mean, this is a big point. And they see this big fucking spaceship. You, I mean, there's no other way. It's a fucking spaceship. So this is like spaceship, goose shit happening, disfigured, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
People were shooting at a dog coming from this complex. It'll be fine. Yeah.
No. The crazy thing is from them reading that line that says digging deep, life drawn out, and they get grid coordinates. They go and they see the big block of ice that this thing came out of, and then they decide it's a good idea to go to the coordinates where these Norwegians were blasting, right? So that's when they go see the spaceship. They go out to the coordinates that they got from the notebook. There is a gigantic fucking spaceship, just like you said. And the Norwegians have been blasting, so the top of the ship has been blasted open. So something's also come out of the ship, right? So, and when it came out of the ship, it froze in the ice. This is what they think. It froze in the ice and then these guys dug it out. And that's probably what happened, right? So these guys decide to pack everything up, the alien body and everything, and fly back to tell everybody about it. Why are we not radioing them to pull the fucking dog out? That still bothers me a lot. And it always has bothered me with this film.
I mean, yeah. At this point specifically, everything you saw up front, even seeing the fucking spaceship, is not like we might have a situation here, and they're still sitting there like we're never gonna know what happened here.
I'm gonna be fair though. So McCready is not a scientist. McCready is a fucking pilot, and I've dealt with a lot of pilots. Maybe he didn't think anything weird was going on. You know, I mean, Han Solo was a pilot. That guy was the most clueless fucking person in the Star Wars universe. Anyway, so they get back. They walk in. The next scene we get is that they've put this thing out on the table that they brought back. Right, this melted alien body. They put it out on the table. Everybody's looking at it. Nobody's really saying anything. They're just kind of in awe of what they're looking at. So Blair, who's the doctor, puts on gloves and he pulls out scalpels, and Gary and McCready and Childs are watching him do this. So he cuts through the skin. There's taut black skin on top because the thing's been burnt. So he's cutting through the skin and opening it up, and there's human organs inside of it, right? But the thing that I notice, and I don't know, this is probably something that a lot of people noticed. I noticed it the first time. The organs that he's pulling out of the body are not in the right spot in the body to be coming out of the body. You know what I mean? Like you've got the heart, the lungs, the liver, and they're all coming out of the same spot. They're not like in different parts of the body.
Yeah,
They're in a cavity in the body, right?
yeah, yeah. This is also the next kind of thing I might be nitpicking here. No, but when he pulls out the organs are soaked in blood. And if you have any organic being and its organs are soaked in blood to that degree, next big red flag, that's usually something contagious. It's usually a disease.
Right. And this guy being a doctor maybe should have known that too.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, the thing is, I mean, I might know it because I'm a butcher, and I know specifically mammals on the insides by a healthy mammal. The organs aren't bloody.
Yeah.
You will not see a fucking drop of blood on the organs. Very rarely. Except of course for liver, lungs, and heart, obviously.
Right.
But
Well,
so
you could say that so when you do have internal organs that are covered in blood, that can be internal bleeding. He could think I mean, you gotta look at the
maybe.
state you gotta look at the state of this thing.
Yeah, but I
This
mean,
thing
yeah,
looks melted and beat to death, so it's possible,
it's
that
possible.
there could have
Of
been
course,
internal
I mean,
bleeding.
of course it's possible, but I mean, for a normal person, okay, but a scientist, these are multiple
Yeah,
scientists.
maybe you're
I
right.
mean, by simply
Yeah.
seeing that, and I'm not sure what kind of science, but the one guy, this Dr. Blair, is definitely a biologist or some kind of shit. No, but yeah, okay,
Yeah.
continue. Continue.
There's a biologist. He's a biologist. He's not just any normal
Yeah,
doctor.
and this is the point, and specifically a biologist would know this shit, but yeah, but it's a horror movie, so
Right.
I mean, in
Well,
horror movies, the organs are made bloody just to make it look more gross,
yeah.
so, yeah. I'm
Um,
just nitpicking at this
after
point, I
looking
guess.
at it probably a little bit no, you're right, you're right. But, I mean, to be honest, if I'd have had this thing set on my table, I would have not kno I'm not a biologist or anything, but I would have not known what to think of this at all.
I wouldn't have even brought it into the fucking complex.
Well, nobody's wearing a fucking mask either. Don't you think that's a little bit weird?
Yeah.
Nobody's wearing any type of, like, doctor's mask or anything. So Blair is looking at this thing, he's going through the organs, he gets into it a little bit more. And he can't figure out what it is. They start discussing potential origins of this thing, but that really doesn't go anywhere because they don't have anything to go on. So then they just cover the body up with a sheet, right? They just cover it up. They don't radio anybody to let anybody know what they found. And I thought that was weird at first, but then at the same time, I was like, wait a minute. These guys are thinking that this is going to earn them some type of reward or award or
Exactly.
something, so they
Exactly, yeah.
don't want the story to get out yet. So that's why they're not telling anybody about it. But still nobody's thinking
Yeah.
disease, and that bothers the shit out of me. Blair is starting to look a little bit more obsessed with this thing. Like if you notice his gaze, he's really thinking about it and he's a little bit obsessed with it because he can't quit talking about it. So now it's nighttime, right? Everybody's kind of gone back to doing whatever they're doing, whether it's playing cards, watching old VHS tapes, getting high, drinking whiskey, whatever. The dog's pen is quiet for the most part, right? We haven't really heard anything out of there yet. All of a sudden, the dog snarls and kind of hunches forward. Uh, and you get a good look at the dog's face and you hear this sound for the first time. And the only way I can describe this sound is it sounds a little bit like a bunch of worms, like in a big pile moving together. That's what it sounds like, right? And you get this sound, and it's not something that we've heard before. You get a view of the dog's face, and the dog's face splits open, right? Gnarly fucking scene. The dog's face splits open 3 different ways. There's kind of this tube type of, tongue thing that comes out of it, and this is a bloody mess too. Tube thing comes out of it, and it grabs a dog, and then more tubes or tentacles, whatever you wanna call them, shoot out of the dog's side and start grabbing the other dogs, right? Of course, the dogs start making a racket. The only dog that is not being grabbed by this thing is actively trying to chew its way out of the cage. Like it's biting parts of the cage trying to get it open so it can get out. These guys kind of hear the dogs. They hear the ruckus that this is making. The dog's legs contort and spin backwards, and the dog is now looking less like a dog and more like something from your worst fucking nightmare, dude. It's this the practical effects here are fantastic. I love this part. This part alone for me is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Clark grabs a radio and starts trying to get it working because he wants to contact somebody. Mac grabs a flamethrower from the table and runs in there to where the creature is with everybody else behind him and starts blasting the creature with a flamethrower, right? So he set the creature on fire. The other dogs that are there, we get a look at another dog on the right-hand side. If you're a dog lover, this is kind of a tough scene to watch. Chrissy did not make it through this part and is mad at me right now because I made her watch this. I just want to throw that out there. Like we had a whole argument because she was like, "You should have told me that this part was coming, and you knew that I wouldn't like this." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking about it. It's one of my favorite movies, whatever. But you get a view of a dog that's been wrapped up by these tentacles in the corner of the room, and it's completely melted. The dog is melted away and being wrapped up by tentacles. There's another dog on the other side of the room that's wrapped up by tentacles, but he's not melting yet. Nothing's happening to him. Thankfully, somebody has the sense to take a gun and shoot the dog and put it out of its misery.
Yeah,
So
but
it
not.
shoots
Yeah, they put the dog out of the misery, right? But not all dogs were killed by the thing. Yeah,
just
yeah,
just two that
yeah,
I can count. There were
yeah.
4 in the cage. 2 of them were taken by the creature, and then 2 of them, when they opened the door to fry the creature with a flamethrower, they ran out. So those dogs escaped. They fry the creature and they kill the 2 dogs, put them out of their misery. So the creature kind of melts into a bubbling pile of goo. And there's kind of an electric hum too, and beepings of monitors at the same time. Next scene, the next autopsy. So this is our second autopsy scene. So they take the body of the dog that they just flamethrowed. They think it's dead. I would think it's dead too, right? They dissect the remains. This is where Blair kind of digs a little bit deeper into the creature, and then he realizes that this creature has human parts, parts that resemble human beings, and parts that resemble dogs inside of it. And it's not the dogs that it was eating. It itself was making some type of transformation. And this is where the light bulb goes off, and they're like, okay, this creature imitates other things. So it's not eating these things, it's taking them and creating itself in their image. And it takes a while because they caught the creature while it was transforming into a dog, and it wasn't completely done yet. So this is where they understand this thing replicates whatever it touches, and it could be any of us if it's touched any of us. And so this is where everybody starts getting a little weary of everybody else, and nobody
No,
trusts anybody.
well,
Because now
not
they
yet
think,
because Blair does a little bit of looking into it. No, I think you're jumping too fast because Blair he does a little bit of testing into everything. No, and he tests all of the cells, and you see Blair, basically uncovering all of this mimic thing, whatever. Blair comes behind all of that. No, oh. But then they keep on going during their days, doing their shit or whatever, nah, until this one guy comes walking up to McCready, Kurt Russell, and he says, "Hey, I think I have to talk to you because you see in this one scene where Blair is doing this biology shit, nah." Then he figures out basically what's going to happen with this thing, and you only see him grabbing his revolver. No. Then I think it's a few minutes later where you have this one guy coming up to McCready and said like, "Hey man, can I talk to you alone?" No? So then he goes out with them alone, then they have this talk. And the other guy says, McCready, I think Blair is losing it because look what shit he's writing. No? No? Then he basically showed the notes of Blair. So then they go in, no, to get Blair, and this is where it starts to go apeshit because Blair goes fucking nuts. No? Exactly.
the reason he goes nuts, and I'm glad you brought up the part where he's analyzing cells. He also goes onto his computer and kind of puts in some statistics and asks the computer, hey, if this thing were to reach a human, like a heavily populated city, how long would it take before it took over the whole world? At this acceleration that it uses to copy cells, how long would it take? The computer spits back 27 hours. So if this thing were to reach a populated city, it would take 27 hours until total global domination. That's pretty far-fetched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know any computers nowadays without some serious, like,
I think it said 27,000 hours.
did it say
No?
20? You're right, 27,000 hours. My bad, my bad. So
Yeah.
in 27,000 hours, it could easily take over the global population, right? This is where Blair goes nuts, right? First he says to himself, there's no other option. He whispers it to himself, there's no other option. And then he says, it can't be allowed to leave here. He turns off lights and storms out. So in his lab, he turns off the lights and storms out. So we get kind of the interior of the dining hut, which is where these guys eat. Benning's at the table and he's kind of staring at the door. He stands up and walks outside, right? Blair gets up and walks outside without
Yeah.
saying a word. And I think it's because he's caught on to the fact that these guys know what this creature is. Like they know what it's doing. So he's trying to make his getaway because Bennings is the creature, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bennings kind of lets out an inhumane screech. The camera cuts to Gary grabbing a shotgun. They kind of run after him as he's running out of the hut, and he kind of collapses in the snow, and his back's arched, and you kind of get the feeling that he may still be transforming. Like he's not completely looking like Bennings yet. The creature's not. They surround him because he's collapsed in the snow. McCready has a flamethrower, somebody else has a shotgun. They come up to him and they look at him, and all he does is look up and let out this really loud, horrible growl scream. And he's got one hand that kind of resembles a creature's hand and not like a human hand. So they know that this is the creature, and they immediately torch him right there, right? So they burn him alive. The creature's laying there again. They think this thing is dead. But again, Mike, these guys don't learn because they've done this twice already, right? They've done this twice. This creature does not get killed by fire, okay? Like, we should have learned this already. Anyway, they light him up and they're like, okay, he's dead, but now nobody trusts each other because they're like, wait a minute. So this thing was the
But the
dog,
thing is,
and
as far as
now
I can out,
it was Bennings?
the
Go
yeah.
ahead.
But the thing is, the only thing this creature so far is weak to is fire, no, or heat. Yeah, that's its weakness. Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
don't, at this point, has anybody shot one with a gun? I don't think so, right?
no, not really. No, not really. But the only thing so far that these people know have worked is a fire, heat. So if you burn it, you have to really fucking burn it.
Yeah.
Not like only
But I mean, they torched him
burn
and
it
kind
and
of
then
left
put it
him
out.
there.
But
It's not completely fucking burned.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So once Benning's body is finished smoking, they pick it back up and put it in storage. I don't understand. I don't like near perfect horror movie with some of the dumbest thinking people. You could argue these people are stressed out. Kurt Russell's character has said multiple times he hasn't had much sleep. So maybe they're sleep deprived. I don't know. But they take what's left of the charred remains and put it inside the building on a table in storage and cover it with a tarp. Stupid as fuck. Once they've done that, this is where Blair really goes nuts. So he's got an axe. He starts chopping up all the computers, all of the communication equipment. He's fucking this room up, man. Like he's hitting everything with an axe. And he's also hit the guy that was in there with him in the head too. So that guy's like laying on his back in the room, kind of listless. It takes a few of them to subdue him. McCready runs up, gives him a few good punches, gets him down on the ground. They take the axe away from him.
Yeah.
He keeps saying, there's no way out of here. I don't trust any of you. We have to destroy everything here. Not okay. So they take him and they take him outside to a shack, which you kind of get the feeling that this shack may be like a mechanic's room or something because there's tools on the table. There's equipment in there. They take him in there and they lock him up. And they close the door. The door's got kind of a slider on it that you can open and talk to somebody on the inside. And Blair says, whatever you do, watch Clark, is the only thing that he says. Watch Clark and watch him close because he thinks that Clark is this monster now, right? There's been no hint as to why. Like, we don't know why he's been led to believe that because as far as I can tell from Clark at this point, he's been acting pretty fucking normal. Right. So Windows, I don't know if you noticed this, but Windows character, he's got a tape recorder and he's kind of recording what Blair says as he's freaking out, his whole rant. Right. And that's Blair's transition from scientist into complete lunatic.
Yeah.
So Copper and Fuchs decide, hey, there's got to be some type of test that's going to be able to tell us who is the monster, who
Infected.
is this thing,
Who's
who's infected. So the main doctor, Copper, is like, well, I was considering this blood test thing that we could try, and it may be able to tell us, who's not who they say they are. Right. So they get a hot wire loop and a heating element, and they go into the room where the blood is. Right? No?
You missed something else. The first idea they had was to talk to the other scientist, and he said, well, if we have blood samples we knew that were not infected, would mix it with infected blood, there would be some kind of reaction. So then first they go back in to get the blood, but then they know that all the blood bags are gone because somebody was at the fridge and emptied it all. So this thing or whatever is intelligent at this, what it establishes, and they can't say who it was. At the point, they just have no idea how actually to figure out who the thing was. And this is also the thing that makes it quite interesting because if you consider how this thing spreads, it's probably not only one because if this thing, it spreads like a disease. So technically, you could discuss, I think, for hours what actually the thing is, what kind of a life
Yeah.
form. But no, but then they have like they start to panic out a little bit, no, because only their captain at the time is the one that have a key, and then they suspect him of being, of course, obviously that he's the thing or whatever. The situation starts to panic for some time, almost starts to escalate, but McCready, he calms it down by taking over as the leader, and everybody accepts that so far. And then I think everything continues. Then they go back to, I'm not sure what happens exactly, where they have to defibrillate the one guy. Something happens to him, no?
He's passed
I'm not,
out, so he
yeah,
just collapses. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. He just
yeah,
collapses.
yeah.
The
Okay,
guy is a
then they take,
little bit heavy set, so maybe they think it's a heart attack. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. But then they have him on the table, no? And then they have the scene going down where he's giving him a heart massage, and all of a sudden his stomach opens up, no?
This is
Okay,
great.
and this is
This is
you
great.
can, yeah, because the thing where you came up with comes after this scene, but I think you would like probably more likely like to explain it.
Well, I was talking about the blood because they wanted to test the blood, right? But blood vials were destroyed, the blood bags were
Yeah, yeah,
destroyed.
yeah.
So I also wanted to, before we get into this scene, kind of maybe not really get into the weeds about it, but the one thing that they don't explain about this creature in the film all the way up to the end is what exactly does it do? We know it's intelligent because it's destroyed the blood bags. So before they even thought about the fact that they could mix normal blood or infected blood with normal blood, this thing got to the bags and destroyed it. So it has to, in some way, utilize the brain and the mind of the person that it takes over. I think it probably gets whatever memories this thing has or intelligence
Yeah, yeah.
that creature has, it also uses that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to speak English. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to act like that person. And otherwise, it wouldn't have destroyed the book, right? So this thing is super intelligent. And now it has the memories of whoever it's taken over. The guy collapses. They think it's a heart attack. They get him on a table. Hopper shows up with a defibrillator, puts it on his chest, shocks it. They've got him hooked up to a heart rate monitor already, and there's nothing. It's still flatline. So then he goes back in, he warms it up again, tries to put it on his chest, and right before he puts the defibrillator on his chest opens up, and it's a gigantic mouth with teeth. And his arms go into the mouth, and the mouth closes and bites both of his arms off. Right? Great fucking scene.
Yeah.
Brilliantly done. I love it. So now there's pandemonium. Absolute fucking pandemonium. This thing is laying on the table. Before it's able to sit up, McCready runs in with the flamethrower and douses this thing in flames. And he gets most of its body, right? He gets from the shoulder down completely engulfed in flames. This thing has a head that's in its stomach that also resembles the head and face of the guy that it took over. And that thing jumps up to the ceiling with like these creepy crab legs and this
Yeah,
twisted
yeah,
fucking face and is just hanging there looking at him, right? This thing is fucking disgusting. And this is where I say the practical effects are amazing because do you know how they did all that? I
yeah,
looked it up a long time
yeah.
ago. It's just bubble gum. It's fucking bubble gum. They use bubble gum for almost all of that, with the exception of the head prosthetic. So this thing is up there. It's staring at him with these horrible, evil eyes of his dead friend. So he fries that piece too with the flamethrower. Meanwhile, the body that's laying on the table still has a head, but that head is now trying to run away from the body. So it like detaches from the neck and slides down the back of the table that the body is sitting on. They don't see this because there's flames everywhere and they can't see the back of the table, right? So the head slides down the back of the table and ends up on the ground. And what it looks like is just a normal human head, but it's alive. And all of a sudden you see the thing's mouth open and it spits out one of those tongues, like the long, wrappy tentacle tongue, and it wraps around a table and the head starts pulling itself towards the table with its tongue. This is fucking great stuff, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't know that the head is there, so they think that they've neutralized the creature. Everything's burned again. We already know that doesn't mean anything, but whatever. So they've burnt the creature. They don't know that the head is there. And then all of a sudden they start hearing tapping, like tapping on the ground, like crab legs on the ground or something like that. And the head grows these crab legs and these eyeballs that stick out of the top of the head that's reversed and turned upside down. So the eyeballs are sticking out of the neck and it crawls away like a crab. The one guy, the stoner, I can't remember his name. I think it's Fuchs. He notices it, points it out to Kurt Russell, and the thing is standing there in the corner on these legs, like screeching, and they fry that head too, right? So again, they've torched the next person. The next member of their crew is dead. They've got another charred remains body, which is probably not dead, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
They take that and put it on a table as well, just like they did the last one. So we're just collecting specimens at this point that are just waiting to wake back up and take somebody else over. I don't
Yeah, because
understand. I
but
would have taken the
no,
shit
because
outside
no,
and buried it.
no, no. I think this is actually what they did at this time because then they have the discussion what's going on and exactly because shortly after that, Kurt Russell takes over and he says, "No, we're putting everything out and we're burning it." No, so then they take everything. Shortly after that, after they had it on the table, they take everything out and then they burn it. No, and then Kurt Russell basically sets up the plan. He says, "You three guys."
Right.
You're coming with me, and they put and he basically wants to put them in quarantine because they had the strongest. They were the ones that definitely had contact with the thing. No, Blair, they've already locked him up. No, and then he sets up. You guys do this. You guys do this. You guys do this. No, I'm not entirely sure what, however, they were doing. No,
Well,
then
they were isolating anyone and everyone that they thought had been out of the sight
had
of everyone
contact with it
else long
exactly,
enough
and
to
then
be infected. So they've quarantined them off.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, however, I think two guys were sent back in. Kurt Russell went with one of the other guys to check something out. Then they
So it's his shack. In his shack, he
his shack, exactly.
turned the light off and he now notices that the light in the shack is on.
Yeah. So somebody's there. No.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
there was another guy. I don't remember his name. They find his body on the way. No. After that, he says exactly what you just said. That I turned the light off in my shack. Then it cuts back to they're back inside the complex, and the one guy that went left with Kurt Russell, he comes back, and for some reason left him back because he thought Kurt Russell, no, was one of these things,
You remember
and
why?
that's yeah.
Because he, on the way with Kurt Russell's character to his shack, he noticed something in the snow. We don't see this, but he tells us this when he comes back. He says, I found his shirt with his name on it, and it's tattered and it's in the snow. So there was a scene earlier where, and we skipped this part probably because there's a lot of shit that happens in this film.
Yeah.
But one of the guys found an article of clothing in the trash can in the kitchen that was shredded, but it didn't have a name on it. And the doctor made a note in his book, "Hey, I think this thing tears through your clothes when it changes itself into you." So when this guy found McCready's shirt outside tattered, he thought, "Shit, McCready is actually this thing." So he left McCready, ran back inside, and he said, "Hey guys, I found his shirt outside. It's his shirt. It's tattered. He is one." So now everybody inside the station thinks McCready is the creature, right? While they're sitting there talking about this, McCready comes back in, but he comes back in through the storeroom window because he realizes that door's been closed because he tries to open it. Nobody's opening it for him. So he goes into the storeroom, comes through the window, and he's standing there, but this time he's got dynamite. He's got dynamite and he's got a flamethrower, which I'd stay the fuck away from this guy, dude. So he's like, okay, I'm not this thing, but I'm in charge right now, and everybody stay the fuck away from me because I got dynamite right here and I will blow it up if you guys try to do anything to me. So now he's got everybody, including the captain who has the revolver. And the captain's like, well, everybody's probably going to feel better if I put this thing down. So he puts the weapon down. And then Kurt Russell's character moves everybody into the break room, right?
And we mix two scenes up. This what you
Okay.
explained, nah, this happened before, nah, and we mix two scenes up, no, but
Okay.
it's not that bad. We should continue because this is definitely the part where you say where Kurt Russell moves them all into one room, no, yeah, but yeah, does this, yeah, we mixed up two scenes, no, but fuck it,
Okay.
we would have to go back through the entire thing to mix it, so
You guys
yeah,
know what we're talking about. We don't want to
yeah,
go back
yeah,
through it.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's seen the
Great.
movie. Yeah. So so then we come to the scene where Kurt Russell now moves them all into one room, nah, and basically now ties up everyone. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ties three guys up on one couch, like right next to each other. And you can tell these guys are not real like happy to be tied up right next to each other because everybody thinks that the other person is the thing. Right. So they're tied up together on this couch.
Yeah.
He says, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I got the dynamite, I got the flamethrower. You guys aren't moving. We're testing everybody's blood. And he said, I think this thing does not like heat. Wow, amazing. You think so? It's really the only thing that's worked. So he takes a wrapped up wire and removes the rubber coating from the wire to where it's just a piece of wire. And he says, okay, one by one, he starts testing people's blood. And he does this by letting them cut themselves and put blood into a petri dish. He takes a petri dish, superheats the piece of wire that he has until it's red hot, and then sticks it into the petri dish. When he does that, it either is he doesn't know what the reaction's going to be, but he knows if the blood does not react to it, then that person must not be infected. So that's what he starts doing. He first does it with the one stoner guy, which I can't remember his fucking name. Might be Fuchs. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he takes his blood,
Yeah, the
sticks the
stoner is
heated
enough.
wire into it, and it sticks the heated wire into it, and the wire smokes, the blood smokes, so he's safe. So he goes off to the corner. He gives him the flamethrower and says, okay, stand there. I'm testing the next person. So he takes the wire. The captain is being a little bit of a bitch right now. He's like, this, I don't know why you think this is going to work. This is stupid. It doesn't prove a goddamn thing. And he's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm
not
glad
only
you
the
said
captain,
that.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah, it's Childs as well. Yeah, Childs is also
yeah,
bitching. But he tells the captain,
yeah,
we're going to do you last.
yeah, yeah,
We're going to do you last, bitch. So you're going to be sitting here through the whole
yeah,
thing.
because even Kurt Russell does not know if this is gonna do anything, but it's like the only lead he has, you know.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and
go ahead.
it turns out to be right.
Yeah. So he goes through everybody's blood. We're down to the three guys that are sitting on the couch now. So he hasn't done Childs. He hasn't done the captain. There's a guy in the middle whose name I can't remember exactly. What was it? Is it Clark? No, it's Windows. Windows. So Windows is in the middle. He tests his blood. You can tell he's kind of preoccupied at this time with other things, but he's trying to test the blood. This scene is fucking cool. He sticks the hot wire into the blood, and the blood jumps up, like forms like a monster looking thing, right? It jumps up out of the thing, and he drops it, and they're like, "Oh fuck, it's him! It's fucking what's his name? Knowles. Knowles is sitting in the middle. Knowles is the one in the middle of the couch between these two guys, Captain and Childs, and he starts shaking, right? And these guys is a great scene because they're tied to him. They're just sitting next to him and he's changing right in the middle of them. Both of these guys are fucking screaming, "Tie me, untie me, untie me." But nobody's going to try to untie these guys. They just let this thing transform. So it starts to transform and it stands up with the couch attached to it, right? And the one guy, the stoner guy that's in the corner that has the flamethrower, pauses because he's probably petrified. So he has the thing in his sights. He doesn't pull the trigger, and the thing's head splits open and bites him, right? So this is the scene where we get kind of a little bit of a janky effect. Like, this was creepy and well done, but it still looked a little silly. I don't know how you felt about it. But he bites the guy's head and tilts back, and the guy's feet go up in the air and they're kicking because he's got his head in his mouth and he's moving around and breaking stuff. These guys eventually get free on either side of him and get away from him. And McCready torches the creature again, burns him, but the creature turns around and runs outside. If I'm not mistaken, am I correct about that?
I think so. I think you're correct. Yeah,
Okay.
He runs directly through the wall. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Runs to the wall and outside. McCready chases him down, shoots him again with the flamethrower, and puts him out of his misery and then comes back in, right? And this is where I'm kind of a little lost with my write-up as to what happened next. Do you remember what happens next?
Yeah. After next, he torches the stoner as well because clearly he's infected without a question.
Right.
And exactly. Then he tests the other three, and then then he lets the other three guys go. However, then it's at that point it's only like a child, the captain, and the other guy. I don't remember his name. I think Coily was his name. Maybe the name of the character. No, I'm just gonna call him the other guy. I don't care.
Okay, other guy.
Yeah. Okay. So, however, then they pretty much Kurt Russell comes into Child and says, "Okay, we're gonna go over and check in on Blair." No, because this is one weird because shortly before that, McCready was over to check in on Blair, wanted something, talking to something, and Blair's like, "Hey, I'm totally cool now. You guys can let me back in. Let me back in." So it's like, okay, this is kind of creepy,
Yeah.
nah? So, however, nah? Then they wanted to go and check on Blair because I don't know why, because maybe let him back in now because I don't know, whatever. Then they put this guy and he
Well,
said
I
like,
think
here,
they wanted to test his blood because now they know how
probably,
to do it,
probably,
right?
probably, probably. However,
But yeah, you're right. We did get
yeah,
that scene prior
yeah,
that we skipped where he went
yeah,
out
we
there and
skipped
was
that.
like,
We
"Hey,
skipped that.
uh, what's going on?" He says, "Let me back in. I'm fine now. Don't worry about me." I was a little iffy about this, man. Like, because when did this guy get infected?
Isn't it obvious?
No.
He was the one standing direct next to this alien body, cutting it open, fucking around with it, going in his hands everywhere
Yeah,
with it.
okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
He
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
I
yeah. I
mean,
guess that's something you don't really think about at the
yeah,
time. But yeah, you're
I
right.
mean, the thing is, I mean, he was the one that had direct blood contact with this thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Okay. So they go back outside because they want to test his blood. They open the little flap on the door and they call his name and they realize he's not in there. So then they open the door completely and walk into the shack and he's not there. He's just gone. And they're like, "What the fuck? How did he get out? The door was still bolted on the outside." They start searching around the shack and then they realize the floorboards in the shack are loose.
yeah, yeah.
So they start opening the floorboards and they realize that underneath the shack is another completely open area, right? Now, what I don't know is if the creature dug this itself or if it was already there. But I think
I'm guessing it was pop. Huh?
you think it
I
was
don't know.
already there?
I think it was already there because I'm not sure if this creature could have done it that fast.
I mean, if it can change into anything, it very well could. But I mean, there's also a table down there. So I don't think the
Yes.
thing brought a table down
A
there. Whatever.
table and a half-built UFO.
Yeah, so this part bothers me a little bit because you see the size of this UFO. This thing is no bigger than a car tire, dude. Like it's a UFO, but it's tiny. Like I'm like, did this thing plan on shrinking itself down to nothing and then flying out in this little UFO? It's cute. It's cute. But I don't think the creature was escaping in that UFO. But so what he was doing the whole time was trying to build a spaceship to get him out of there. And
Well,
that's
that's the thing. That's I think the thing you could argue about because you're considering the fact that it already has a spaceship. No, you could have. It might have probably just trying to rebuild the engine. I don't know, or something, or something. I mean, because yeah, just like you say, it's definitely not big enough to hold a creature like that.
yeah, I don't know, but I would have thought a new engine or a new piece of something too, but it obviously looks like a flying saucer. You know what I mean? It's not, it's a flying saucer. And I was like, it's a little silly, but we'll let it go, whatever. So he's not down there. They don't know where he is. They notice there's a UFO, so they obviously know he's infected now. So they go back up. They realize also once they've gotten back up because they noticed earlier that there were pieces of the chopper missing, the helicopter, and there were pieces of the tractor missing, the thing that they used to move snow. And so that's what he did with the pieces of the chopper and the tractor was build that UFO, right? So they go back up. Let's see. So the generators are dead, right? They when they go back up, they go into the room and they realize that the generators are dead. So now they have no way to get electricity or anything like that. Knowles and Gary are missing now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because that they
They're
just see some they just see some guy running out. No, they know the generator is dead. And then they're standing up there. At that time, Kurt Russell, no, says to the other guys, okay, we all know we're not making it out of here alive. No. At that point, Kurt Russell said, none of us are gonna survive this shit. No, but just at least we're taking that bitch down with us. That's kind of the
yeah,
mood they go in there.
that was the idea. So he makes a remark that he thinks that this thing escaped its spaceship originally, went out into the ice and froze because it knows that if it freezes, it's not going to die, right? So what this thing is trying to do now is go somewhere where it can freeze to death. So Kurt Russell says, "Fuck it, none of us are making it out of this alive. We're going to set this whole fucking place on fire because if we set it on fire, at least we know the creature's not around us because it hates heat." So they set fire to everything. They start stuffing dynamite in walls. They're going to blow this whole fucking station up.
Yeah.
Right. Mac lights the fuse and warns Childs, "Hey, get clear." Right. As they're doing this, they kind of go further into this bunker that they have outside that's
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
lot of equipment in it and stuff like that. I can't remember the cook's name. It's not Childs, it's the other guy. Is it?
The other guy. That's the one we're
Yeah, that's
calling.
the guy
That's the
we're
one.
calling other guy. Okay,
The other
okay.
guy. Yeah, that's the other guy.
So he hears something back in the bunker and goes that way to investigate it, but never comes back, right? And this is also where McCready calls him and realizes he's not coming back. And he's like, okay, that's weird. And then we get a scene where Blair, or it's actually the creature, but Blair walks up to the captain who's back in that room and sticks his fingers in his face, right? He takes his fingers and sticks them in his face and starts like melding into him. The captain passes out, and then you see Blair kind of drag his body away with him, right? So we know what's going on. The creature is starting to take out everyone one by one at the end. Matt calls for his buddy, realizes he isn't coming, and then all of a sudden you see the floor explode piece by piece all the way up to where Kurt Russell is. Kurt Russell's got dynamite. He drops the dynamite on the floor, and then the creature pops out of the ground right in front of him. And this thing is a fucking gigantic monster. Like it's got half a human face, which I think is Blair's face, and then it's got a gigantic mouth sticking out of one side of its head with all these teeth. It's got multiple arms, and then its stomach opens up and the dog comes out of the middle of the stomach. It's like a partial dog creature. This is a sick creature effect. I love this. Like I remember when I was a kid, I'd seen this with my dad and I was so impressed by that creature design that I looked everywhere at like flea markets trying to find a poster of this creature and finally found one. And so when I was a kid, I had this huge thing poster on my wall growing up that was just this creature from this scene, and it's fucking awesome. It's like burned into my memory. Really fucking cool looking. Kurt Russell, McCready, realizes he can't fight this thing because this thing is huge. So he picks up the dynamite and goes, yeah, fuck you, throws the dynamite at the thing and runs off. So the dynamite explodes,
Yeah, fuck
effectively
you. Yeah.
destroying that entire bunker, destroying what's left of the facility, destroying everything. Like everything's just in flames at this point. Then McCready still has his whiskey, but there's something here that I don't know if you noticed, and a lot of people don't notice, but this is what causes people to talk about the end of this movie. So he's got his whiskey in his hand, but we saw him do something with that whiskey earlier. But if it's kind of a if you blink you miss it kind of thing. But he still has his whiskey, and he goes out and sits in a part of the exploded building that's not on fire. And he's sitting there, and you know that this guy's accepted his fate and that he's going to die. All of a sudden, Childs comes walking around the corner with a flamethrower and looks down at him and says, "Are you the only one to make it out alive?" Mac's like, "Yep, it's just me. Everybody else is dead." We know Mac is thinking at this point that Childs is the creature, right?
And vice versa.
And vice versa. So if Childs is not the creature, then Childs is thinking McCready is the creature.
Yeah.
So they both have this conversation, and this might be the only time you get a conversation between the creature and a human where the human knows it's a creature and vice versa. And so they're talking, and he says, well, you know, you could be it and I could be it, but I don't think either of us are in good enough shape to do anything about it right now. So why don't we just hang out here for a little while and see what happens?
And see what
And
happens.
so, yeah. And so Child sits down, puts the flamethrower to the side, and is sitting with McCready. And McCready takes the whiskey bottle and hands it to Childs, right? Childs takes a big sip of it out of the bottle and goes, yeah, that's the stuff. And Kurt Russell smiles and laughs to himself because Kurt Russell filled that bottle with, what is it? With kerosene earlier because he was going to make a Molotov cocktail out of it. So he realizes when he hands it to Childs and Childs takes a sip and doesn't realize that it's not whiskey, that he is the thing. And that's where the movie ends. Fucking crazy cliffhanger that everybody talked about for years afterwards. Like, who do you think was the thing at the end? Well, it was obviously Childs.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing, and this is something that somebody, I can't remember who noticed it, but after it was noticed, everybody knew about it. If you look at every character in this movie, when they're talking, there's a lot of close-ups to everybody's eyes
Yeah.
when they're talking. If they have a glint of a light in their eyes, they're human. If the eyes do not have a glint of a light or any type of light in their eyes, then they're the thing. And if you go back and watch the movie with that in mind, you realize from scene one
Okay.
until the end who's the thing and who's not. But I didn't know that, and I found that out a few years ago, and if you go back and watch it, that's exactly what happens. So they purposefully put stage lights in front of somebody so that there would be, like, a light in their eye if they were human and not if they were the thing. And that's so fucking cool. And
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that either.
yeah. So John Carpenter did not let on to that secret until I think it was like 20 years after this movie came out, and somebody finally asked him, they're like, "Hey, here's a fan theory. Here's what we noticed. Is there any truth to that?" And he's like, "You got me. That's absolutely correct. You got me. You got me." So I thought that was brilliant. Like that's something that nobody would be looking for. Now, viewers, now that you know this, go back and
Yeah.
watch the movie. It puts a whole new
Exactly.
spin on
Yeah.
everything for you. So, what'd you think overall, dude? What are your opinions about the movie?
I
Don't
liked
worry
it.
that
I
it's
mean,
one of
I've
my
always
favorite
liked the
movies.
thing.
If you want to badmouth it, go ahead.
I've already badmouthed pretty much everyone. Well, generally, I like the movie. I think it's a very great horror. I've always liked it. There were just these so much things where I think like I know for a horror movie to happen, there has to be some fucking idiot. But this is like it's just the way it's written. It's like it's. I mean, this is way too big. First, not only there are so much things that have to happen until that thing gets there, and after the thing is there, they continue to make the dumbest decision somebody could possibly make. And it's just like I mean, even for the thing to start, they have like these two things following a dog. No, okay. Then they go to where those guys came from, bloody mess everywhere, goo shit everywhere,
Yeah.
misfigured whatever the fuck it is. No, first thing that should tell you there might be something contagious going on. No, then they go and see a big fucking spaceship and no urgency at all. Everybody's like, yeah, well, I guess we'll never know what's gonna happen. What happened here? I mean, and the thing is, I mean, even though I like the movie, it doesn't stop there.
Yeah, I know. I know. It keeps going.
But still, I mean, there's a lot of things, of course, that you can make fun because then they have this thing here. They bring it into their complex. You have like the one biologist that should pretty much see this shit and know this shit might be contagious. But he's the first person that decides to dive in head first into it.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You're right.
And it continues from there on and on and on. And even after they know this shit is contagious, they're like head first into it. But however, I mean,
Let's just put this partially burned body in a room where it's around all of us, even though we know fire doesn't kill this thing. They do that twice. That bothered the shit out of me. That bothered the shit out of me.
yeah.
I
There's
can
this. I mean, there's a lot.
I can forgive a lot because the movie is really fucking good. Like it's a good movie. I think
Yeah.
by today's standards, it would probably be considered a slow burn horror film because it does drag in places, right? But I think for the time that was kind of expected from horror films because they wanted you to get to know the characters a little bit. But there are a lot of things that even I can't overlook plot hole wise. Either that or these people were just extremely dumb. We
Yeah, I
know
mean,
McCready. Yeah.
it's not really plot holes, but like I said, a lot of these people, the decisions they make are insanely fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is a reoccurring theme in so many fucking horror films. So
yeah,
I can forgive it. I mean, even
yeah,
if you go to Alien and Aliens, there's a lot of that too, because for a horror movie
yeah,
to work,
of
sometimes
course.
people
But
have to be
it's
stupid.
just like, yeah. But the thing is, for a horror movie to happen, just like I said, there has to be somebody, there has to be an idiot, no, clearly, no. But it's
Mhm.
just like this is like, and I'm not saying they're just, I don't know. There are so much things, that could have happened leading up to this. No? Like, let's say one of them, for some reason, after they were trying to figure shit out back at their complex, went back because he forgot something. Then he saw the fucking spaceship or something like that. I just think there are ways because this is just like, this is not necessarily, how should I say it? This is beyond unrealistic because there are so many red flags there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
even there are so many red flags there. Even the biggest fucking moron on planet Earth would realize maybe something was wrong with that dog. At the latest, when you see the fucking big spaceship in the ice. I mean, that would have been the point. where even the biggest fucking moron would be like, nah, nah. But so the thing is, it's just like, I think that specifically, it could have been written better. Everything else, that happens, the dumb decisions they make, you can say like, yeah, okay, these guys are clearly fucking stressed out. Huh? Who knows how long they've been alone? They're kind of losing it. Nah, something's there that's killing all of them. None of them is thinking
Yeah.
straight. No, so everything that happens, kind of
Yeah,
after they
and most of them are stoned and drunk the whole time too.
exactly. Half of them are just like you said. So that everything after they know the shit starts to go down, you can say, yeah, clearly none of them is thinking straight. But everything that led up to this thing getting into the complex, it's just like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the
There's
dumb thing about the movie.
there's
Yeah.
there's a lot that's unforgivable. I've been in situations where the shit has hit the fan, nobody's thinking correctly, everybody's just kind of reacting. But even then, these guys had enough time where that wasn't happening to put two and two together to try and salvage the situation, and they didn't do it. So I'll give you that. Like, there was a lot of stupidity going on. Homer Simpson would have been like, maybe we're in trouble, you know? Like, if Homer Simpson would have been like, maybe something's not right, then these guys should have gotten it too. Yeah. But overall,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, even with the dumb behavior, for the practical effects alone, the story itself is amazing. The setting is
Yes.
amazing.
Yes.
Special effects are great. I'd still have to give this movie a 9. Just for me.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
give it a 9. Easy.
Yeah, definitely. Because definitely 9, I still would say I would give it an 8, but still pretty good.
That's
No,
fine. Yeah.
because for me,
Yeah.
it's just, I
It's a
like the
great film. It's
movie.
one of those
No,
that I can
I mean,
watch over and
goddamn it,
over.
I think I even give my most favorite movies only 8, but it's just like everything leading up to this situation even come into the complex is so fucking stupid. No, I mean, simply for that alone, I have to say, yeah, only an 8 out of 10. Even if everything else is perfect for the movie, that part alone is like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty fucking dumb.
Yeah, I can kind of I think about my other movies that are in my top, Alien being one of them, and The Exorcist being another, and the people in those movies make the exact same stupid decisions that these guys did in a lot of ways. But well, when we get to Alien, don't worry, I won't forget. I'll bring up the thing when we get to Alien and I'll point it out to you and I'll be like, "Would you have done this? Would you have done this? Would you have done this?" And The Exorcist is the same way. Everybody says The Exorcist is like one of the holy grails of horror movies, but it also has a lot of really stupid things that happen that nobody should have done.
Yeah.
But I think with horror movies, there's that suspension of disbelief that you have to be able to enjoy it, and I'm fine doing that. I don't care. But still one of the best horror movies of all time, in my opinion,
Yeah. Yeah.
easily. So with the thing finally out of the way, do you want to talk about what our next episode is going to be, or do we want to surprise people when the episode hits?
The next episode is
Do we want to keep it a
huh?
mystery up until we do it? Do we want to keep it a mystery up until we do it? Or do we want to
Uh,
maybe spoil a little bit?
well, man, nah, I think, nah. Should we say anything? Nah? Nah?
No, I've been thinking about this. I didn't want to ask you beforehand. I wanted to ask you on the podcast just to like build some suspense. So I don't know. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm completely fine kind of giving a hint as to what's coming, but if you want to spoil
No,
it, we
I'll
can.
just say I'm gonna write it down in my Necronomicon and we'll maybe make a post later.
Okay. We'll make a note in our next Naricon and then we'll put a little post on Facebook so that
Yeah,
everybody
so
can kind of
that
know what's coming.
maybe just to know
Maybe,
what
maybe, maybe, but you've gotten a big enough of a hint, so
yeah.
don't ask for too much. You got anything else you want to say about the movie, Mike?
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, The Thing is an all-time classic. It's just every horror fan knows this movie. Everybody's seen it. It's a great movie. I just have my problems with the beginning. Other than that, I have not really much negative to say about it.
Do
Just
you
of
think?
course,
Go ahead.
I would have preferred if the dog scene would have not been in there, just like with The Fly 2. No, one of my all-time favorite movies. I would have preferred for that scene to not be in it, but still, it's a good movie. I like it.
Yeah, the dog thing is one of those things, right? If you're a horror fan, unfortunately, horror is one of those. It's that genre where unfortunately animals do get harmed a lot for whatever reason. It just human beings get killed. Animals are part of human beings' lives, so they get hurt as well. I also could have done without the dog scene. I could have I could have just seen the dog transforming and heard the dog screaming, and that would have been all I needed to hear and see. I didn't need to see the dog get shot. I didn't need to see the other dog get melted. I'm with you on that. Like, I could have done without that. As we were talking about before we started the podcast, I had told Mike, for whatever reason, the version that we had on Plex was not a good version. It wasn't the whole movie. So I had to go online and search for another version of the film. And I found another version of The Thing that seemed like it was longer than the original cut. And so as I watched it, there were scenes in the dog pen that I do not remember from watching it all the other times. And I feel like things were added back in, but it made it much more gratuitous and a lot hard to watch. And I feel really bad for Chrissy because she's still mad at me. She's still mad at me. There's a whole argument about that. So from now on, Mike, if we do a movie that you know dogs are going to get hurt and it's a little bit graphic, warn me ahead of time so that I don't watch it with
I
Chrissy.
did.
I had
did.
forgotten about the dog scene.
I did. I forgot about it too, but I warned you with The Fly too. I said it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I gave her the option to not watch that part in The Fly too, and she didn't, so we were good. But I completely forgot about this, and I feel like a total asshole for it. Yeah. But anyway, awesome.
Awesome, man.
Again, big surprise for you guys next episode. We won't spoil the shit out of it now, but we'll get to it later. I don't have anything else to say about The Thing. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I'm not really sure you can call yourself a horror fan if you haven't seen it. Check it out. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Mike.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys next time. Bye.
The blackest dies. The darkest dies. Simply